Now, in this last, we actually did a lot of biology in this class, and this is pretty much the last part, and each of these sections that we have been doing lately could be a whole semester-long class. So you're pretty much doing a survey of many different things, so hopefully you're getting a good sense of how wide and diverse biology is. So the last group that we're looking at are the vertebrates. Vertebrates, as the name tells you, they have the vertebral column. The vertebral column is mainly composed of a dorsal nerve cord, and all of these will have this notochord, which is a hollow nerve cord, and then along with that they have a pharynx with gill slits in them. And the last thing is they have a tail extending past the anus. So these are four features of the vertebrates: a notochord, which is the vertebrate column, a hollow nerve cord, and the pharynx and the tail, and rudiments of the tail. You might be thinking we don't really have tails, but we do have a tailbone, and that is a vestigial organ that confirms that evolution did take place. All of these arise from embryos, and they may or not persist in adults, but we do see them. Very wide kingdom. You can see over here, you can start with the lungfish, amphibians, turtles, lizards, snakes, the turtles, crocodiles, birds, mammals, bony fish, tunicates. So here are we will start from the precursor, which are the lancate and the tunicates, which then gave rise to the hagfish and the lampreys, and then these give rise to the bony fishes, and those then gave rise to the lungfish, and so on. So in order to reach here, we'll have to start our story from the very beginning. So let's go on to the first ones, and these are the invertebrate chordates. They're called as the chordates because they still have some of the properties of the chordates that we listed on the first slide. They are the ancestral ones, and the tunicates are invertebrate chordates because they briefly swim about as a larva and then metamorphose into an adult. They are your adult filter feeder, which means that it strains pieces of food out of the water surroundings, and water flows in and out an oral opening and past their gill slits and then out of the body by way of another opening. At the same time, oxygen diffuses from water, and carbon dioxide diffuses out. These tunicates, whether adult and larva, are free swimming. And they have the chordate characteristic, that is that they have a notochord, and they interact with muscles when they swim. And that's why they are considered in this rudimentary chordates. The lancets, on the other hand, are invertebrate chordates. They're more like fish-like. They have bodies that are like 3 to 7 centimeters long. And they also have a dorsal nerve cord that extends from their head all the way to the tail. So that's why they have sort of like a simple brain. So we are looking at the next group, which are the Craniates, because these are the hagfish, and they're chordates with a brain case of cartilages or bone. And very simple, very simple. Keep in mind, we're still looking at them. So eventually we come to the first vertebral evolution, which is the evolution of the vertebral column, which is much more cartilage, and it's got different segments in them, and it starts from the brain and goes all the way to the tail of the animal. Jaws evolved in the first vertebral evolution. That's why the predators' fishes have jaws in them, and gills evolved later in water. And then lungs for the drier land. So that's why you have fishes that have gills, and lungs for mammals and even reptiles. There are paired fins, and you will see the starting point of other fins appeared. So the earlier fishes will have paired fins both on the same side, which eventually give rise to the modern limbs that we talk about, the hand and the feet. So they were like more the simple fishes we will look for paired fins in them. So the first thing we want to look at is the jawed fish, which are the earlier fishes. They have the jaws. They are cartilaginous fishes. These are the sharks and the rays, and also the bony fishes. Gills were present, but they were not free. And their plans were adapted to live in water, and they had a swim bladder in bony fishes, which it will helps them to adjust for buoyancy and stay in water. The next group are the bony fishes. There are three different kinds: the lungfish, the lobe-finned fishes, and the ray-finned fishes. And they're the most diverse. So anytime you go and get a fish and you're eating them, you're probably eating one of these bony fishes. Now, the fishes were all aquatic. Over time, we came to a new group, which is the amphibians. And amphi is water and land. So they're creatures that live in water and land both. So they were the first to evolve from the aquatic to the tetrapod stage, because they were they could live in water and they could come into the land. They're the carnivorous vertebrates, which means they eat only animals. Adapted to life on land, and they have lungs, but their chamber. They also have a rudimentary heart, which is of 3 chambers, and they all return to water to reproduce. These are your amphibians. So more amphibians over here. Many amphibians now are facing extinction because of pollution and habitat loss, because there's less water, and they only can reproduce in water. So that's why there's an extinction of the amphibians going on. Now, the first vertebrates that came were also able to have their life cycle on dry land, and this is because they were trying to conserve water. And they had what is called as the amniotic eggs. So the amniote is a fine membrane that's present on the eggs, and these did have the eggs in them, and they have the amniotic eggs. Now, those would be the reptiles. That's the first presence of the amniotic egg. And the amniotic skin is when you break the egg, a regular egg that you eat, and you see a little membrane like on the outside and the inside of the shell. That's the amniotic membrane, and then you have the amniotic fluid in there, which composes the whites of the eggs. So all these creatures that are turtles, modern animals, they all had amniotic feature in them. So coming back to the evolution from amphibians, then came the next groups, which were called as the reptiles. Reptiles have a very unique characteristic. They live on land or in water. They are cold-blooded. They have an opening for waste and reproduction, and they are fertilized in the body, usually laid on land. So this is the first presence of the species that was not as much water dependent. Then we have the next phylum, which are the birds. The birds are the only modern animals with feathers. Birds, on the other hand, are warm-blooded, since the reptiles were all cold-blooded. And they're also amniote, because we already know that I mentioned earlier that the egg has this amniotic fluid in them. The feathers were an evolutionary process for the birds to go for migration and flight. Very efficient. Feathers, lightweight bones are highly efficient respiratory and circulatory system for the birds. And then we are finally coming to our mammals. Mammals are animals in which the females have milk-producing mammary glands, a single lower jawbone, and 4 kinds of teeth. So this is why they're called as the mammals. The more modern mammals have not just the egg-laying mammals. They have the pouched animals, for example, the kangaroos, and they have the placental mammals, which is the group that we belong to. So these are the 3 major differences between the modern animals: the egg-laying mammals, the pouched, which are the marsupials, and the pouched mammals can be the egg-laying mammals can be, for example, your spiny anteater could be an egg-laying, and then you have the African. The picture over here is I believe is the pouched mammal, which is the Africa aardvark, and then you have the anteater, which is the placental mammal. And lastly, we want to see the primate evolution to understand it a little better. They have better daytime vision, very, very important characteristic for primates, especially humans. Upright walking, which is called as bipedalism. They're more refined hand movement, much better motor skills, smaller teeth, bigger brain, and very socially complex. And these social complexity resulted in culture that evolved in certain lineage. So this concludes our study of the vertebrates, and hopefully now it's important for this last couple of sections that we did that you can remember the names of the phylums and which species belongs in which, because then you can relate to different characteristics of each of these species, because we really did a very good very quick survey of all the different kingdoms and animals, and the purpose was to give you a good feel of the different vocabulary words. So I hope you enjoyed Biology Bio 101, and I hope I was able to develop some interest in this discipline for you, and I hope some of you would come and take some more biology classes, or you explore more. At least you now are very literate to read a biology text, and you have learned a lot of vocabulary over the semester. So this is the final farewell. Good luck, and best wishes for wherever you go in the next semester.